It's so wonderful to see a full, beautiful house for this wonderful movie, Maria. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Lafley. I'm a film critic and a member of New York Film Critics Circle. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panel. I'm so proud to introduce the director, producer of Maria, Pablo Larraín. Angelina Jolie. And costume designer, Massimo Cantini, Parrini. And to interpret for Massimo, we also have Pablo. Hello, everyone. Hi. Pablo, I would love to start with you. I know that you're an opera lover, you're a Maria Callas lover. Tell us a little bit about, how your love for opera started and how that brought you to this film.
Hang on a second, sorry, but we went to see last night Tosca, the Met, and I'm told that the singers and the conductors here were the only guys. So they were on stage yesterday, we're on stage today, so here we go. Well, my mother would take me to the opera house as I grew up, starting when I was like kind of 8. In the opera house in Santiago, so I went to the operas as all my adolescence, and then I became an adult. And I still go to the opera with her, but this time I invite her. And when we were going back home from the opera house, she would take a cassette and play Maria. So I grew up with this sort of idea of this wonderful voice, a wonderful life with such an emotional spirit. And then 40 years later, 48, I had the chance to make this movie with these wonderful people and this incredible actor and performer that you just saw. But it's really a movie about, not only about her music, about her life, but the things that I don't know about her enigma, about her mystery. So I could tell you that I read 9 biographies. I saw all documentaries, every interview that she ever gave, read everything. We made this movie, and still nowadays I have no idea who she was.
I'm also thinking about this movie in relation to Jackie and Spencer, since you kind of refer to them almost like an unofficial trilogy about women who made really significant contributions to the 20th century, and you depict them in a more troubled chapter of their lives. I'm wondering if Maria was sort of a little different for you, because you're an opera-loving artist telling the story of an opera artist, and there's also an operatic element to filmmaking. So I'm wondering if all those elements made this movie a little bit different.
Of course, it's a story of an artist, I think, as a start. And I think one of the biggest things and the most complicated ones is that there's opera people, there's film people here, and I wonder, maybe you have the answer, why there's so very few movies about opera, given that there's so much in common. I had the chance to direct an opera once, and it was very similar to what I do on a film. And there are obvious differences, but they're so similar in a number of things. So that kept me very curious. And then I think that there's something that you can film, and it was maybe the biggest challenge, is the perception of a singer. That we tried, because I think that cinema often is very restrained to, there's a shot and there's a shot, and we don't experience reality like that. I think that we look our phone, we see a reflection of ourselves in a glass as we walk on the street that reminds us something. Then we see someone that looks like a cousin, and then that triggers a memory. Our perception of reality is very, beautiful and random, and it's very emotional, and has all these thoughts about it. that was part of the idea of this film, that she's walking on the streets, sees something, and then she's inside of Madame Butterfly. And then she keep walking, and then she goes home, plays a record, and remembered when she played that and sang that on that day with that dress. And all this sort of perception of reality through music was possible because I think music and opera is completely endless. And also there's something else that I really value, and we were talking about this with the master conductor here, is that opera is something that is often restrained to a very sort of educated people and sophisticated, and tickets are often expensive, and it makes sense. It's a very sophisticated art form. It requires a number of people that have dedicated their lives to do that. But there was something on Maria Callas that she wanted to put the opera back into more people, make it more popular, back into the masses, where and we wanted to do this movie as well because of that. Try to show people that opera is more accessible, that opera is beautiful, that can be simple, that can be very moving. And we try to mimic that intention from Maria Callas to try to put opera, in a more grounded place. That it's not necessarily something that you enjoy only in those circumstances. There's something in that idea that we chased with and we discussed with Andy, Prozo, and everyone. How can we make a movie that is about opera? Can we shoot an opera? Can we make an operatic film? But that is something that could be, connecting with hopefully a lot of people.
Thank you so much. And Angelina, you're absolutely wonderful in this movie. You give a gorgeous performance. Before I get into, the training that you, went through for this, I want to ask you, what was your impression of opera and Maria Callas before you came to this project, and what attracted you to the life of Callas?
Well, I'd say I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this film, because it really helped me to invited me into the world of opera that I did not grow up with, and wish I had. And I'm very happy that my children now are growing up, even though their introduction was a bit their mother in the house. Yeah. So, but now they love it. So I was taken to the opera once when I was young. It was like magic. I didn't understand how people were able to do that. It was overwhelming. I was, as I've grown older, I realized that I can feel opera differently. I really understand. I'm very affected by music when I listen to it, as we all are, and I think there are certain feelings that only opera it manifests that and has that. That's what I feel. That's that grief. That's that, and that sound, that feeling that comes so full through. As you get older and you go through different things in life, I think maybe it settles with you even more. So I knew of her, I knew her voice, but I didn't know her. And like Pablo, I think I still in many ways don't know her, but I was so taken by this woman, this little girl whose mother was very unkind to her. This little girl who went to the conservatory when she was too young to even go, and they lied about her age. This little girl who couldn't see very well and lied because she couldn't be what she was and wear big glasses, so she couldn't see. But she covered all these things and pushed herself to try to be the best, so she had a place, really, because I think she felt if she wasn't all of that, she wasn't loved, or she didn't have a place in this world. And I know she loved the music, and she loved the composers, and in many ways that was her family, and the audience was her family. So I was very, very moved by her, and I now am a huge fan of opera, and was terribly nervous tonight, knowing who was in the audience. So I look forward to speaking with everyone later. But thank you so much for allowing me to be in this world, because I think I came in very intimidated, not feeling I had the right to play callous, and still feel that way. But everybody in the opera world has been so gracious.
And you put in a lot of work into capturing the performance of Callas, because a movie is about singers. If the singing is fake, you can tell. If the body is not projecting that sound, you can tell. But that doesn't happen in this movie, because you're actually really singing all of the songs that we see you perform. So tell us a little bit about the training, how you got into that, where did you start, and how much of your voice that we hear, I know it's mostly Callas, but there is an element of you in there in everything. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, so tell us a little bit about that.
The mix really only Pablo knows. I think I still can't believe I was mixed with her at all in this life. I went to class. It was about 7 months of training before the film started. We started with just breathing and posture, and then just making sounds and beginning to open up and pitch, and Italian classes for a while. Stopped everything and just did that, and then a wonderful opera singer came in, because we could only teach so much, because a regular singing coach is not an opera coach, so this woman Lori came in, and we started to sing opera, and it took me a while all through production. I was still taking classes every night, every lunch break. I just can only say how much respect I have. It is such a physical feat. It's so technical, but the music is so beautiful.
Was there a particular aria that you loved performing the most, or that challenged you the most?
Anna Bolena.
I'll tell you how it's done. It's very embarrassing because they're here. I don't know if you know, but some of the top singers in the world are in this room right now. So, yeah, they're here. She sings 6 times on camera in the film. So as she explained, she trained, and then if you put me on a car and I play a David Bowie song, I could follow the music and do a decent job if I memorize the structure of the melody. You can't do that with opera. Don't even think about it. Because of the pitch and the structure of the melody requires a very specific training to be able to do that. So Angelina had to go through a very long and detailed process where it's not just learning the music and the words and the accent, but just being able to follow the structure of the melody. So in this set, she would have an earpiece with Maria and the orchestra, and nothing else would sound for the crew, the rest of the cast, and the extras. Sometimes there were 50 people, sometimes there was 500 people. So she was alone singing a bare voice to all of us. And we would record that, capture every sound, not just her voice, the breathing, every sound that comes out of a human with a number of microphones, and then go to a mixing stage, no AI, nothing super sophisticated, just a regular mixing system where you mix and you bring in, obviously, Maria Callas' voice and a new recording of the orchestration, and then you create a mix where most of it's Maria Callas. You don't want to make a movie about Maria Callas without Maria Callas' voice, right? So, but you want to make it believable in a way that is truthful for everybody. And the only way to do that is that she actually could sing and would capture that. So often it's 1% of Angie and the rest of Maria, then it's 2%, then it's 5%. And then there's a scene in the Anna Bolena scene that she's in La Scala, that's 99% Maria Callas, but when she's singing in the rehearsal room, that is 60% Angie. and that it was the process to get there. And it's just, and it was not only the best way for her to get to the character and to really understand, but it was the only way to do it. And I didn't know this in advance, because I've never done a movie with opera before. I learned it through very great people that work with us. So that was the challenge, and she did it. I was there.
Massimo, I would love to bring you in. The costume design in the film is absolutely breathtaking. And I know a lot of Maria Callas's looks were documented, but a lot of them are not documented. You probably had to use some of your imagination based on her taste. What was that balance like? Which looks did you recreate versus just created from your own imagination? And how did you work with Angelina in the process?
No, è stato bellissimo poter essere l'ultimo stilista di Maria Callas, inventarmi un po' questo ruolo, no? E sperando che a lei fossero piaciuti gli abiti che io ho immaginato. E, naturalmente sì, esistono tantissime foto di Maria, è stata documentata in tantissime cose, anche in video soprattutto. E con Pablo e Angelina abbiamo fatto un lavoro molto stretto contatto, ed abbiamo deciso quando e come gli outfit dovessero essere indossati nel film. Poi il film, come avete visto, è anche in bianco e nero, quindi comunque lavorare sul bianco e nero non è così facile come lavorare sul colore. Sono stati fatti 60 abiti per il film, ne abbiamo usati poi una cinquantina, ed è stato bello il processo, perché comunque la documentazione è il pane quotidiano di un costumista, quindi è la parte più bella, quella della ricerca. Io sono affascinato dal passato da sempre, e studiare un personaggio realmente esistito, ed avere la possibilità di studiarlo a fondo, proprio perché esiste la fotografia e quindi riesci ad entrare in quel mondo, è stato veramente una cosa meravigliosa. E poi comunque grazie anche alla collaborazione di Pablo e Angelina, io ho lavorato, come dicevo prima, a stretto contatto con loro, ed abbiamo creato insieme questo viaggio attraverso i costumi, che spero arrivi al pubblico, perché comunque si parla di cultura visiva, e l'abito è una delle prime espressioni dell'essere umano, quindi è importante in un film.
She's a genius, you see.
Sorry guys.
Good. So it was beautiful to think that I could be Maria Callas's last stylist. So I actually invented this role, and I hope that she would have liked my imagination. There is, as we were saying, so much documentation. There's so many photos and even videos of what she was like and what she would wear. And with Pablo and Angelina, we worked together so closely, and we decided what she was going to wear and when. But in the movie, there's a big part that it's in black and white, and working with black and white is so much harder than working with color. So overall, we actually created about 60 dresses, and then we ended up using 50 of them. And for the way I see it, the research part, the documentation part, is the most interesting, the most beautiful part of my job as a costume designer. I've always been fascinated by the past, and being able to delve into it is what makes me love my job. There is all this documentation available, and I had the opportunity to enter into this wonderful world that she was immersed in. And as I was saying earlier, the collaboration with Pablo and Angelina was very close, and together the three of us embarked into this journey into her outfits. And I hope that what we did can reach the audience, because we're in a world where visual culture is at the forefront, and the outfits, clothing is the first thing that people see.
Thank you. Angelina, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about costuming, and in the way that it probably informs and helps your performance, being in the clothes that he designed. What was that like to be not only in Callis's headspace and singing in her voice, but also wearing the clothes that she would have worn?
Oh, well, I mean, what's so interesting is there's so many different Callises. So there's but for me, the one I loved, the one I found, needed to find first, and was the woman in the robe with the glasses on, and that robe, and beautifully handmade and found it, and that to me was such a key because it was so earthy, and it was so, it just felt it was a real woman's robe, and it spoke to me. So those kinds of, and then of course she had house slippers, which spoke to something. But all of these touches that just felt, it was the way she really dressed to you. He actually taught me how to dress. He would say, well, no, she'd wear this way. This is how she'd put the scarf on. This is how, and all these things are about how somebody would be raised at that time, or in Europe or New York, and she's a New Yorker. So I loved it. So that was her, and then the costumes, which well, and saw beautiful costumes last night on stage, transform you into this third character, this other that me and Maria were now playing Tosca. And those costumes were extraordinary and so fun to wear, and so dramatic and just beautiful. So it was a wonderful, and the difference between them was so interesting to play.
Thank you. And Pablo, you addressed this a little bit, but I'm wondering if you could open up the film's musical journey a little bit more. You worked with screenwriter Stephen Knight before, and I believe he is also an opera lover. How did you sort of chart the key arias you wanted to use? You start with, Ave Maria with a close-up, then you go to Casa Diva, and then you get to hear later on I'm Butterfly and Tosca. What were some of those selections informed by?
Well, there's there are a number of reasons why the music is there. One of them is that I personally had to love it. And then
Good enough reason?
but also trying to be as fair as possible with her musical legacy, and try to. So we build a musical map where the intention was to have certain pieces, arias of certain operas that would match somehow in different ways, but somehow the circumstances that's going through the character in that opera in the story of the film. And we did. Many of them are very related. And the intention was to subtitle it, so it would be more visible for the audience. And when we did that in the editing room, it would just kill the movie. Because, when she's Anna Bolena, she's begging for her life because she's going to be beheaded. And we know that she's about to take the path to death. In Tosca, in Visitarte, the same, O mio papino, Qui la voce suave, then what you were mentioning, there is like a hidden musical map, but when we subtitled it, it was just so distracting because it became rational. And I remember that when I grew up going to the opera, I refused to read the subtitles because I wanted to look at the music, at the singers and the conductor and what was going on the stage, and the subtitles were above the stage. So I had to look up and just lose that. I would read the argument before and after, but I understood that you really can feel the emotion, follow the story just with the music and what's going on in the singing. So we did that. We took all this out, all the subtitles. I felt that I wasted years of research trying to match both things. And then I saw it, and I was like, this is the right thing. We don't need to subtitle those scenes because it is transmitted anyway. And that it's so beautiful to discover. And yeah, I think in every opera there's a logical, there's a story, there's an argument. It's often a tragic melodrama, at least in the Callas repertoire. But there's nothing really rational. And she says on the films that my life is opera. There's no reason in opera. So we stick to that, and I think it's beautiful not to be so rational so often.
And since we are, among the crowd that we are, I want to ask you about the experience of filming in the La Scala Opera House in Milan. What was that like to be in that space?
Well, we had 4 hours. Which was a big deal that we were allowed to have 4 hours, but it was 4 hours, and it was, it was something we all were working towards. It was like a real performance at La Scala. It's La Scala, it's 2 months away, 1 month away, 1 week away. Are we ready for La Scala? I think just, for me, it was so beyond, I couldn't believe I was there. I didn't even feel comfortable in the dressing rooms. I felt I didn't deserve to be in the dressing room. I was very shy on that day. I was very, and I think what got me through was feeling that that somehow this was for her, and that I'd better do my best and get over that and kind of represent and be, but I was a bit shaky. But it was so beautiful, and it's so special, and we were all equally nervous, and that helped too.
We have some Juilliard students in the crowd, and they actually, submitted us some questions. There are 2 that I would like to read here. The first question is from student Joe de Groot. This is a question for Angelina. What did you find most challenging about this role, and why?
I thank you for that question. I think, well, of course the singing was very challenging, but I think putting it all aside, we know her so well, she's so overwhelming, this icon, this voice, and to try to really get past it all and sit with Maria and find Maria and emotionally connect to her and do our best not to do a caricature of her and her life, but to try to allow a real person to be, because I think the real woman is more interesting than just this idea or this icon, and so finding her was I think the most challenging, most important.
Thank you. The next question, and Pablo, you addressed this a little bit, but maybe you can speak more to it, is from Jimena Sanchez. I'm hopeful that the movie will be impactful in attracting new audiences to the opera houses of the world, showing opera as a continually renovating and relevant art instead of a dead one. What do you hope will speak to the non-classical music fans after watching this movie?
Perfect question for Pablo.
Why
you made this movie?
This can be for all of you, actually.
I honestly don't think it's fair what cinema has done to the opera and the classical music world in terms of the amount of things that we can do. I think this is such a powerful form of art that really deserves more attention from everyone. And I think cinema, given that it's more, I don't know, popular, accessible, whatever you name it, if there's one person, we keep talking about one person, 50 person that get more interested in this art form, then we have succeeded. And I think that there's something in the path of the intrigue. I think that there's something, I go back to the idea of the rational, but I really believe that there's something, look, all of these days we've been doing a lot of press, and the first question that I get is like, why Angelina? What do you think about her? And the reason is like, I believe that opera and the greatest art forms ever existed are done by people that could let you in when they want and let you out when they want. Maria Callas was someone that chose really well when, as a performer and as a human, when to be mysterious and when to be more accessible. So that makes you wonder, what are you watching? And makes you, as an audience, you're affected by it and you're curious all the time. And Angelina can do that. She chooses when to let you in because of her performance and her emotional state. And then when she's like, get out of here. And you're in the camera and like, you're not entering, and I love that because that keeps you active as an audience. And that is open as well. You think it's a stage far, but I proved it yesterday with these guys. It's like you can enter sometime and then there's a distance because it's a complexity that they won't let you in, and then they do, thanks to Puccini and everyone involved in the situation. And that is a form of art that desires and that deserves more attention from us. And I think that's the right angle, that you are invited to be part of a process that is not entirely digested and by the people that are doing it. So you must be there, must be present. And the idea of being present, I think, is so beautiful and exciting. Let's see what happens, but thank you.
And I want to see if Angelina and Massimo have anything to add to it.
Oh, well, I agree. I mean, I think every chance I get, I'm encouraging. It's changed very much. It's changed, I don't think you change your life, but it's certainly something. I'm so happy that opera and classical music is now a regular part of my life. And it's transformative, it's aspirational, it does something. There's something about the complexity, the sound of it, it reaches for more, and maybe that's part of what Pablo was saying. There's a lot of art forms that they try to make it as simple as possible for you to digest. And there is something so important about the art forms that are complex, and those who do it have to give their lifetime to it to be great. And you can feel it, and it has a different effect on you than those that are so simple and easily digested. And it does what I believe great art should do, and it's important. So that's what everybody's getting from me from Christmas, just opera tickets.
No, io vorrei dire che per me questo film è perfetto, nel senso che avevo capito dalla sceneggiatura, parlando con Pablo, parlando con Angelina, però una volta visto a Venezia, quando mi hanno invitato alla prima, ho capito che è veramente come una sfera, e da qualsiasi parte tu la guardi è perfetto, e questo è perché Angelina e la Callas sono diventati una sola persona attraverso Pablo. E spero che il pubblico si avvicini all'opera guardando questo film.
Well, I just wanted to add that I believe that this movie is just perfect. I already understood that when I first read the script, but then when I had the opportunity to see it for the first time in Venice when I was invited to the premiere, I realized that it is really like a sphere, because regardless of where you look at it, well, it always works. And this is because Angelina became one and the same thing with Callas, and this is what makes it so that this movie can bring a much wider audience closer to opera.
Thank you so much. Perfect note to end the conversation on. I will have a request. Please stay seated, because we would like to have Pablo and Angelina and Massimo join you and take a picture with all of you. So please stay in your seats. But except the Tosca cast, Lisa, Freddie, Quinn, and Yannick, you will be moved to different seats. But everyone else, please stay seated. Thank you so much, Pablo and Angelina.
that can be, done. There's so much that doesn't need a human being today. There's so much that doesn't need to be right. That can't be. And so I think it's going to push all of the art forms that are live and in person and complex and require the kind of work that you're doing. That's what makes the difference now. That's what anything that is easier or can be replaced, that goes into a different category. And what I think will have a very different life now than it's ever had is people reaching to be watching something, where something could go wrong, where it's the human being doing something extraordinary that they had to study for a very long time and excel and bring to you. So I'm very excited that I think you're all going to be coming into a time when the work that you do becomes more important and more popular. I really do believe that. As an artist who's watched a few generations, I've been around for a few decades, and I've seen different things. I'm very sure that's where it's going. So I'm
You can have an AI sing an aria, right?
you really, it's just not it's not the soul of it. It's not the same, right? And to be live, like last night going to the Met, it's just something that, it's for what it is to be human, and what you're able to do with your work is very, very necessary, and it's very exciting. So, and the real actors. Right? Real emotion, real character, real humanity. Can't be replaced. It's very, very important. So, thank you. Congrats. Thank you very much. Oh, could we all take a picture?
Yeah, let's all take a
picture. Okay. Do you want to give one of them your phone? Yeah. You can share it. I think that's going to be hard, but if you do the turnaround thing where you...
Angie, I'm right here. We came up for the picture if you can. It's just two of us up here.
Is Jane gonna come back?
No. I don't think I could get it. I could try. I'm sorry. I don't think I can.
Oh, I can get one, actually.
Angelina, please, I didn't get you over here. Angelina, give me your phone. Olay bize geldi. Yiyecek bir şey bulamıyoruz.
Guys, no, quick photo, sample picture. Now it's like it's on.